Welcome to episode 27 of the Conqueror's Corner podcast. Today is Thursday, September 23rd. I'm not Ryan Fox, here with my fire team, Jared.
I'm ready to give the people what they want after listening to that intro music.
And Chad. Oh my God, it's over. Osero.
It's finally happened, guys. I lost a bet. I got the Vex. Ryan is happy, and we'll talk about that more later on.
That joke's even better the third time. If you guys are watching on YouTube, don't forget you can take us on the road via Spotify, iTunes, and other podcast services. Make sure you subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, unsubscribe, and then subscribe at the end to the podcast. Click the bell, turn on notifications, follow us on YouTube. Also, follow us on Twitter at Destiny CC Pod. We did have a beautiful TWAB this week by our boy Cosmo. Don't forget, we are hashtag Team Cosmo. Make sure you guys send us Spongy friend request. Links will be in the description in our Discord server. Jared, it's time to let the dogs out.
Man, listen, dude, I'm still sleeping on that fence post. I'm haven't decided if I'm Team Cosmo or Team DMG yet. If Cosmo keeps bringing it, the heat with these twabs, maybe I'm starting to fall over to one side. But he's got to keep his fastball going. And as our podcast has progressed, the first 25 episodes was we only cared about PvE, and all of a sudden, Bungie's made us care about PvP and care about trials. And we have another TWAB just filled with trials data, trials playlist changes. And we're going to be talking you through us going flawless on Friday night together.
First card flawless, Jared. Don't sell us short, my dog.
I try to humble, and I'm not one that gasses up like you. I think that's your role. So
Hype man.
The first thing we get into is that tomorrow, September 24th, Trials is going to be testing some stuff out with the Capture Zone playlist. So what this is that after 30 seconds, a zone is going to be enabled to you to go capture. If you capture that zone, you win the round. That simple. Or just like traditional Trials, 3v3 elimination, if you just take out the other team, you win the round. So 2 avenues there, potentially 2 different team concepts of what your team build to go do. And so this zone, whenever the first round pops up, it's going to be in the middle of the 2 spawns in the middle of the map. And you load up, and whatever you're rocking, the 2 special shots in your primary weapon, your team is going to converge, and depending on the map, which is the map's probably going to lead to a lot of the different play styles, you might win the round by capping or eliminate the other team as before. But when the second round starts, if you lost, that capture zone is going to be a little bit closer to your spawn and give you a little bit of a benefit to try to get you to win a round and progress the game along. Bungie's talked about later on as TWAB, they want games to be competitive. So I guess this is one of their avenues to make this capture zone competitive. And I guess what comes to mind is whenever you play like Search and Destroy back in the day, like you do so many rounds of you're the aggressive and so many rounds of you're defensive. And to say if you go to win a game and you win 5-0, for the 5 rounds, you're always at a disadvantage. So I guess it's just going to give the team that lost a little bit more benefit actually to make it a game in some way, to get some of those round wins, to increase that on your card, to get you some of the XP. And the XP is going to be worth a little bit more this weekend, as you have double XP rank ups with Saint this coming weekend. So how y'all feel about this capture zone trials that we're going to be going into?
First off, I'm not a huge fan of the idea that, the worse you do, the more advantageous it is for you. This is like the competitive mode in this game, so it should probably be, even starts. I personally prefer games like Gears of War and Halo, to where like power weapons are things that you fight over on the map, and they're on set spawns and more symmetrical maps and things like that. So the fact that if you're down 4-2 or 4-3 and that thing's spawning close to you, you can get some momentum, get some kills. At that point, maybe you get a second super, depending upon how that plays out. I imagine with the round times being so low, like 30 seconds in that spawns, there's probably not going to be a lot of second supers unless somebody is just absolutely slaying out. So, if I had to guess, the way this is going to play out is the 30-second timer before the zone spawns is going to be a lot more of a way to get people into the same area, and it's going to force an engagement. So with that, you're going to have less supers. Everybody will probably get one super per match, unless you just get absolutely smoked. And I don't imagine a lot of games go all the way to time. I think it'll go to kills, because you guys know how it is. You get one pick, and then everybody kind of collapses on that pick, and then plays kills from there. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. Not crazy about it, but I'll try it. I might like it. Who knows? But it does sound a lot like the breakthrough playlist that used to kind of come and go here with Destiny, and with that playlist, like it was kind of like a neutral capture the zone, to where like you would capture like the B zone on these maps, and then once a team captured B, either A or C would become, you'd have to capture that zone, whichever zone was closer to the team that didn't cap B. So that's kind of how I imagine it'll somewhat play out.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in seeing how it plays out. It makes the most sense for this kind of mode where spawns are there's only two different spawns and the spawns flip to keep everything centralized. Um, but seeing just how much closer the capture point can get and seeing how much more of an advantage it is going to be something that's going to have to be played to see how it is, because obviously they play tested it and it didn't seem overly lopsided to them. Um, I mean, it might make it so that if it's closer to your team and you rush it, you might get picked. Like bam, bam, two you guys just gone because you're focused on running for that point instead of keeping an eye on enemies and stuff. So it may even itself out somehow, but it's we're gonna have to get our hands on it to see just really see how it plays.
Any map predictions for this week?
I'll go with Javelin 4. It seems like a pretty cool balanced map with different routes to get outside, to get inside, and to push around corners. I think that would make sense to me. I think if it's on burnout, that's too much of an advantage for the team that spawns inside. So I think this is going to be really dependent on the map, and maybe this is a time where when Bungie throws in maybe 2 or 3 maps that's on the rotation on a weekend.
So, Chad, what about you? Do you have any sort of prediction before I give my prediction?
Oh man, I got no clue. Like I know the maps, but I don't know the names of any of these maps, and I don't know what
That's
the
kind of
trials rotations are for maps. So I honestly don't have an idea. Nothing.
so. So I'm kind of with you on not knowing the names of maps, and like I said, we told you guys up front, this is a Destiny podcast through a PVE lens. So you guys are the dummies that clicked on it to watch it, so you can't blame us at this point. So the map that I imagine it's going to be is you guys know the map that has the big courtyard with the tree in it, and near the tree is the heavy ammo spawns, and I imagine it's going to be that map, simply because that map lends itself best to. It's a remake of a D1 map, first of all, and second of all, it lends itself best to moving that capture point around the map a little bit. So I imagine that if I had to guess, that's going to be the map. Can anybody recall the name of that map while I try to look it up?
Is that Bannerfall?
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, I believe it is.
So I hate that map. It takes too long to get across.
So do
it.
I. So
Yeah,
do
I think it's too big for because if you look at where they could put points, where points are flat enough and big enough, it's way too lopsided. Because if it's in one of the rooms, then it's right next to people. By the time they cap it, you're not even halfway across the map. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case. I feel like it's going to be something that's smaller, easier to traverse. If it's not Javelin 4, maybe the moon with the
Mm-hmm.
cube in the middle. There's my guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where it's circular enough where things can be placed slightly closer to one team than the
Oh
other, but I don't
no.
know.
Oh no, not that map.
You're the guy
The
who
one that's
literally
like
said a
the one that's a
line
big
map
circle.
where
The
you
one
guys
that's a big
spawned at the
circle.
house. Yeah.
Oh no. Dude, I am so bad at that map. That's gonna be bad news for me. Gonna have to get that fractithist out and start raining some pain down. I did
Yeah.
get a sweet roll on that this week. I did get the
It's going to
quick
be
draw
rapid fire fusion
opening,
time.
the quick draw opening shot roll on that. So I was pretty excited to see that drop this week.
So you let in the weapons there, and if you're thinking about your loadouts in the meta, I'm thinking of glacial walls. I'm thinking of Titan walls. I'm even thinking of Titan. What's middle tree void Titan? I always use it with Ursus, but I don't actually know what it's called. Is this Ursa
Oh
Furiosa
my
but Titan?
gosh.
But
I know just call it the Ursa Super because that's what it
yeah,
is.
it's just that. Just make the big barrier wall, right? And you go and you stand on the capture point, and then your teammates behind you can't get shot, but they're doing weapons of light damage against the other guys. I might be.
Is that better than bubble though?
You can't shoot through a bubble.
Yeah, but you also the only way you can die in a bubble is from a super, right?
Well, yeah, but also if you can shoot them on the way to you, but they can't even close that gap.
Yeah, in a
That's
bubble, you
true.
have to peek in
Somebody
order
like
to
me
do
running
anything.
Risk Runner.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean I'm just throwing
I don't
out
know.
ideas.
We'll see.
I'm not saying
We'll
that
see, guys.
always. That's what you have to use.
We are
We'll see
not
what the
we are
map
not the
is.
people to listen to for PvP like loadouts and tips and tricks. Or I'll say that I'm not. Jared and Chad, you guys do your own niche things that seems to be pretty effective. And I just run apparently Risk Runner Fractithist. I noticed that neither weapon was on the was on the meta sheet
Yep.
this week. So I was kind of proud of myself for that.
And my main two wasn't Frozen Orbit and Mate Mach wasn't on the top 10.
Oh,
Look at us
we
being
were just the
off
screwball
meta.
team. We're the screwball team. That's fine. I'm fine with that.
So Friday night we went flawless, and I'm going to say it was week 2 of trials for this season, just to keep it clear. And whenever that happened, you went flawless. You went into another pool of players, so that basically made it the flawless pool. So only flawless people played with flawless people after you went flawless. So it's pretty. People's been wanting that since Destiny 1 at some point. People's always asked about that. So why don't you put it in there and let it play out? And so there's some things they liked and some things they didn't like through week 1 and week 2 when you compare the numbers. The first thing they looked at is solo data for solos. Week 1 win percentage was 23%, and then blowout losses, 5-0s, were 38%. And then in week 2, solo wins was up to 36%, and blowout losses were down to 29%. So that is the trend that they want to see. So they're saying that they want the numbers to be around a 30% win rate for solos and around a 33% blowout for solos. So the main goal in the trials revamp was allow players a lower barrier to entry and expectation of the mode, and then just increase the population of fire teams to where mid-skilled players will more likely have more wins than whenever they just only played mid-skilled fire teams or teams that are just way better than them.
AKA us.
Exactly, that's what I was thought of. That is who we are. I talked about blowouts, and there was a lot of those in week 1. Total and the total weekend had 60% 5-0s. And then that is way too high for Bungie. And week 2, that came down a little bit. It came down to 52. That number is still not where Bungie wants that to be. They want that to be around a 30 to 40%. They want these games to feel competitive, feel like you have a chance of winning. At the end of the match, you're like, oh, I missed that headshot, or if I made that corner just a little bit faster, I would have got the pick. We would have won the round and won the game. So that gives people staying in the playlist with the feel like they can do better.
Yeah, I noticed that even, in the past, like week one, some of the games, whenever we were kind of getting our footing, we would lose, and I'd be like, we lost 5-2, but really, we should have won that round, and then the other round, if we would have had our super, we could have won it, and you can kind of make up a story to make yourself win a game that you lose 5-2, and it's not too far fetched. So I kind of see where they're coming from with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just give people a little bit of confidence, a little bit of loot to where they're pleased with their time in the playlist and they'll come back. We've always sat through those seasons where we jump in there and we're getting 5-0'd for the first 6 games, and I feel like it's nothing but people with perfect aim or Grenadier Jake or Frostbolt, and
Ring
you
one,
don't have a chance in the world.
PTSD from that, man.
Oh yeah, and I'm always afraid we'll actually fall back into that at some point. But hold on, we're not there yet. So they go into things that they feel like did work, the changes they made, and things they didn't. So first thing, the things that didn't work. So 34% less matches were played overall in week 2 compared to week 1. And then matches post flawless dropped by 45%. And that's me. After we went to the lighthouse, I went and cashed that card in, got that extra Weeds Regret, and didn't touch the playlist again.
Same.
100%.
So Bungie wants us to stay in that playlist and play. And I seen some of the games that people were getting on Twitch, watching some of those guys. I was like, that's just not for me. Like I know my skill set ceiling, and I know what I'm capable of, and I'm not capable of winning those games. It's like I got the flawless check mark. I'm done. So another thing that didn't work that they're keeping an eye on is that there was 16,000 cards that were reset while they was 5-0 or 6-0. That way players could stay in the non-flawless pool and keep getting wins. So that's not a big percentage. So because there was actually 2.7 million cards started last weekend. So that's a very small portion. And I would say majority of those people are people that's doing carries. That maybe that is what they do all weekend is carry people to Lighthouse for their streams, or that's what they do with their clanmates. That's up to them. I've seen a lot of people calling those people out, saying that is not you're part of the reason that trials got so bad in the first place is that kind of manipulating the system and farming people that is not on your skill level. It's like, but that's also like they're wanting to bring people to the lighthouse and have fun because that's the way they've always done it. And Bungie tried to take that away from them. So I understand why they wanted to keep playing trials the way they enjoyed it by carrying people to the lighthouse. And then the next is nearly 50% of players that gone flawless in trials history was carried, in quotations, carried by somebody who was already flawless that weekend. And week 1 was pretty much on that at 56%. But in week 2, that number dropped all the way down to 16%, which showed up in a lot of LFGs as like have not been flawless yet, looking for people to go play trials with, or like in our discords we're like, oh, we've been flawless, and somebody's like, trying to go flawless, haven't played this weekend, is anybody not flawless yet, wanting to team up? So that really it brought down the friend game content that Destiny does have, is jumping in and playing with your friends and not worrying about that what's going on too much, and that it took that away. So, and there's also some things that worked. Last weekend, there was 700,000 players in trials. That's only a 50,000 loss from week 1. And then 253,000 of those went flawless. That's 36%. Still, those are great numbers. That's great numbers for a week 2 of a season. Bungie expected there to be a huge decrease. There wasn't. And another plus is that games lasted about 10% longer because the flawless players got out of the pool to where the people that is not the top tier skill had games against people that's more at their level, and the games went longer, so you use more 5-2 games, 5-3 games. So all that in mind, they're making 2 changes this upcoming weekend. The flawless pool will be enabled on Sunday reset. So that gives you all Friday and all Saturday to play exactly the way you wanted to, exactly like week 1.
Let's go. Good change.
And then the second thing is Bungie's turning off matchmaking help until you've played at least 2 matches during the weekend. So a couple of TWABs ago, they talked about if you've been 5-0'd a few times, they're going to give you some help to go win some more rounds. Basically, you're going to have to just play a little bit more to get that help from Bungie in your matchmaking. That main reason is that matchmaking queue time took too long for those players too early.
Yeah, I think it said it was something like 4 minutes at times to get games in those because the player pool was so low. So I understand that, especially with the outliers like that. It really skews the data, which our Lord and Savior Cosmo kind of mentioned a little bit in the TWAB there. So
that they want people to get into games quickly, but the games actually last a little bit longer because they want them to be competitive. That's kind of what that's going along with. And looking forward, the last little things they're given here on Trials is Bungie will be making another swing at what's for matchmaking stuff, dealing with solos and lower skill players without negatively affecting flawless players. Looking at that maybe late October. And also looking at adjustments at round and match wins on 7 win cards. And then there's going to be just less trials talk going on in these TWABs as they iron out all these details and get it in a stable mode. So this weekend's capture zone, and then on reset Tuesday, Trials goes away and Iron Banners comes in, and that means there's no trials next weekend. So all in all, after looking at all this, guys, Twitter blown up about flawless versus non-flawless playlists.
Oh, it was bad. It was bad.
It was
bad.
Very, very toxic on either side. And I flip flop as the weekend went by. I listened to different sides, listen and reading what people had to say, and talk me through some of your thoughts as you went through how our experiences went, and then reading about others.
Go ahead, Chad.
For me personally, not being a streamer and not being the toppity top player, it was nice having them be upset that they can't just stomp people and they're not getting the wins or they're getting beaten. And I'm like, yeah, that's how Trials felt all the way up into this season for us, just constantly, just all the time. So that's why we didn't play it, because it wasn't fun. But like, I understand that it does suck because that's what happened to us. Now the change that they made to activate it later on the weekend is great. It lets the carries, the people that are doing carries still hit the lighthouse, carry their friends. It'll let us, like on Friday after if we flawless, play with others in the clan that haven't yet. So that did kind of suck where we got it Friday night. And then like my homies from work were like, hey dude, let's hit some trials. I'm like, dude, you do not want to play with me. I already went flawless. We ain't going nowhere. So I felt that, but for me, it was like, no, I want those streamers to feel it for once. I want them to feel this pain.
Yeah, so it sounds like they felt it on Friday and maybe into Saturday, but actually, as the weekend got along, it got just fine in the flawless pool. I mean, I've seen countless YouTubers with the YouTube videos saying, "Oh, I went solo flawless in the flawless pool and all this stuff." If you like that clickbait, you can go click on it. It's not for me. And starting out, I was like, Friday night we went flawless. I was like, well, we went flawless a week before, so I was like, is there really that much difference? And as I thought more about it, is that The only thing Bungie need to do is once you're in the flawless pool, give you more shot at the adept weapon of the week. I would have been fine if this week Bungie's like, we're keeping it the same. Once you go flawless, you're in the flawless pool. But after you're in the when you're in the flawless pool, you get all kinds of drops of that Reed's Regret, wins or losses.
Maybe. Yeah, okay, so let me back up. So actually, I want to touch on that before I back up. Maybe like a win is a like 70% drop rate for Reed Regret, and a loss is like a 25% drop rate. I would have played a hell of a lot more.
Mhm.
Keep in mind, after we went flawless. We went to the lighthouse. We snapped our photo. I uploaded it on Twitter. We went back, talked to Saint, and I cashed it in for another adept Reed Regret, and I never touched it. Never touched that game mode for the rest of the weekend. So we had always talked about, kind of off air. What if they make it to where the flawless pool doesn't start till Sunday or Monday? We never thought that would be something they would implement. If they did implement it, the history of Bungie is that nothing happens in real time. Everything happens a season down the line. So what I want to do, I want to stop for a second and uh, really give some appreciation to Bungie for changing things like within a week or 2 weeks. This They always say, "Hey, we're listening. We hear you. We hear you. We're listening." And back whenever DMG was at the head of the TWABs, that's what he always said. But now that Cosmo's here, we're getting these immediate changes and reactions. So Cosmo, thank you for your service, my friend. So with that, the way it comes in, this actually feels like a living game on the PvP side of things. Keep in mind, we went a year without any sort of changes or, no talk of maps, no talk of anything. And let's be honest, whenever we have these dry spells of PvE content, which I think is very much safe to say we're already in a dry spell on the PvE side of things, and we have a long ways to go to get us through until the next content drop. PvP is going to be what carries this game, and I obviously they know that because they're putting a lot more resources into the PvP with the battle eye. Like praise God for battle eye. This has made like just PvP in general much more tolerable. Not having to wonder every time you die that's like somewhat questionable, like, oh, I wonder if they're cheating. You can pretty well just be like, hey, they had a nice shot, congratulations. I'm fine with that. I don't care to die. It's just the craziness of me being 10 10 meters off the ground in the middle of a glide coming around a corner and I immediately die from a sniper headshot. That gets kind of old. So trials, hey, let's experiment. Let's use this time. This is probably the least amount of players that we're going to have. Let's have trials in the absolute best place it can be whenever Witch Queen drops, because that we're going to get an influx of players with a new content drop. So let's get trials where it needs to be, and let's get Iron Banner where it needs to be. Let's work on it now in this long season. Perfect time to do it. So I'm very much happy with the way things are going at the moment.
Yeah. So, again, I can't let you praise Bungie without me praising Bungie. So yeah, good job. But I know that Cosmo is just the messenger and all of this, and takes in the information and spreads it out, and then takes what he can from everybody at the studio, and they put him in handcuffs, and they can't. You say you're only allowed to say this little bit of, this little bit of stuff. You can't tell about everything we got working on in the shop. So they definitely got trials in a good place. Even you look at like the past 2 weekends at all. I'll take either one of them over what the last year plus has been in trials, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So
Like I said, we used to get our like curb stomped in trials, like our absolute brains beat in.
mhm.
The most of like it took two, like probably usually two resets for us to make it to a 3-win card. to get the 3-win trials reward. And now we're going flawless on. I say the first card, it was really our second card because we reset after our first loss to get our mercy back. So, so doing that to this, like, they're doing something right because I'm very much excited for trials. I'm more excited for playing trials than I am for GMs to start. And that's not anything I could ever say about this game prior.
Oh my, what have you done, Bungie? All right. Trials. I mean, Grandmasters, October 5th. We're really going to hammer into those next week. Probably get you a couple builds that we're thinking about. And most of those GMs we have been in before, except for one of them. And we'll try to burn through all those next in 2 weeks to get that Gilded Conqueror. So,
Oh, and I want to say, but as far as that goes, we're going to be putting up our like gameplay on YouTube as those come out. So we think that all 6 of those are going to drop like day one. Kind of how it's read in the past. We haven't had any like 100% confirmation, I believe. But assuming all 6 of those drop, we're probably going to try to do at least 1 a night, if not 2 a night. We're going to put up on YouTube. So make sure you follow us at the Conqueror's Corner on YouTube. That way you'll be able to kind of see our builds and you can kind of see how we take on certain areas in those rooms as well.
So there's a hotfix that went out today too, and it's basically a little bit of prep before we get into Grandmasters, and that is these are adept weapon mods. So impact, blast radius, and projectile speed used to only be in trials, and now they are coming over to the Grandmaster pool. Also, you can get them to drop in Master Vault of Glass. And another thing that happened is they fixed Telesto again. I got to go meet the president again. All right. So
thank you for your Forrest Gump reference.
Trials got some more weapon perks on the weapons too. So, I started looking in like GG, so looking at the different, a couple of different perks. I was like, hey, this is a lot of cool stuff that I didn't even look at it and had a thought about. So we're going to give you just like a few of them just to keep a lookout for it. Maybe if you already, had some of the weapons of the past that you got dust on that's in your vault, maybe you might want to go get a new one. So the first one I looked at, it was ISOL. I was like, what kind of PvE craziness that can I come up with there? So I'm going fluted and tactical mag there, just be able to whip it up fast and have an extra shot in the mag. And then assemble with either Vorpal or high impact reserves. So that assemble, there's a new perk this season. You get extra handling and extra reload speed when you're with your teammates. So I'm just thinking this is just another sniper you can get to pump out some DPS that whenever you're close to your teammates. Now, this is not like I'm not giving you god rolls. Like, there's definitely better snipers you can go out there and get. But if you're just looking for something else to go get, that's one of them. Shiara's Wrath. I think that was 2 weekends ago. It was the first weekend, and I had a new perk on it, Harmony. Basically, what Harmony is, it's the little brother of what Recluse was. And whenever you got a kill with another weapon, you swap Recluse, you did like 25% extra damage. Or if you got a kill with Recluse, you start doing the extra damage. Where Harmony is whenever you get a kill with another weapon, you do 20% more damage for like 8 or 9 seconds when you pull it up. So we're going Hammer Forge, Tac Mag, and then Moving Target and Harmony. Moving Target, you automatically get 10, an extra 10 to your aim assist stat. It don't matter whenever you're moving or aiming down sights. It's just an automatic with that perk, and then you can strafe even faster. Strafing and the movement skill gap in this game that everybody clings to will help you out there too. And then
when you say everybody clings to, what do you mean, Jared? Please enlighten us.
Everybody says that Stompies is, you don't need to nerf them or anything like that. Nerf them into the ground. I'm tired of seeing them, and this is a 100 main
skill gap.
And then is the last one to look out for. That really, this is something that we used a lot in the past. Was the Igneous Hammer? It ran rampant there for a while. It's got overflow now, so we're going Hammer Forest, Ricochet rounds, overflow, and then Rampage. That sounds like PVE monster to me. Heck yeah, give me that. Give me that Igneous Hammer Ball. So,
Hey,
um,
did you happen to check out the hammer roll that Saint had like this week in like his like rank up section? It looked to be pretty decent. I don't remember exactly what I had, but I remember thinking like, oh, I probably should have grabbed that.
well, it'd be a good thing if you didn't grab it yet, because they just now activated it today with a hotfix of it having a masterwork. So if you already picked it
Okay,
up, it didn't have the
sweet. No, I
masterwork.
didn't. No, I did not because I was like a few games short of being that rank. So I did notice Jared here looking at our rundown. We skipped over a section here that says on the cover of the Who Cares magazine. You
You
care
know what?
to
You wonder why I
care to
skipped
explain
that,
that to
huh?
us, buddy? You care to
So
explain that to us? What you mean there?
in the TWAB, you know, they got some Guardians there posing. It looks to be a magazine cover called Threads of Light. If you're a long time listener of this podcast, you know my stance on the Destiny world. Nothing gets under my skin faster than you saying, "Oh, I need that armor for transmog."
Or Shifty saying, "Hold on, I need to put on a shader in the middle of a raid."
Oh yeah, blood boils, and that's a mute on Discord, and that's me about peeling the paint off this wall. So, um, if you want to be in this magazine for some reason, you need to tweet out a picture of your guardian with the hashtag of Threads of Light. You can also feel free to at Destiny of the game. So
You can also feel free to at Destiny CC Pod so Jared has to see it all on Twitter as well. I won't give out his personal Twitter account just out of the pure goodness of my soul, but I'm sure Jared would love to see those if you guys want to tag him in those as well.
if there was a way for me to downvote all of these, I would. So, you know, how do you all feel about Destiny creating a little magazine for those people?
So I have to say, first of all, you make it sound like it's Sports Illustrated. It's a digital magazine. It's literally nothing more than a screenshot of a person's transmog slash character screen. I mean, it's not for me, but there's a lot of things in this game that a lot of people really cling to and love and is their favorite parts of this game that is not for me. Like given their Guardians backstories and dressing them up and transmog and stuff. That doesn't interest me in the slightest. But for some people, they love it. So the more people they're able to reach out to, I think it's a great thing. So just remember to tag us and all those. That way, Jared can see them.
I am neither here nor there with that. I enjoy the dress game, but I will do it myself and be happy with the outcome on my own time and not in the middle of a raid when we just want to get a raid done.
Oh yeah. The one thing good about transmog is that you can apply one shader to everything in one click. That's
That is true.
I do
I do
enjoy that.
enjoy that.
All right, so that's the TWAB. That's a few weapons to go chase. And now let's go back to gambling. Let's go be degenerates and gamble some
Here we
glimmer
go.
away.
Here we go. Jared, give us a quick rundown of the gambling corner in case somebody's first joining us here. Got to talk about the rules
All
and
right.
things.
So what we did a few episodes ago, we all started out with 10,000 glimmer, and we said we need to bet at least 1,000 glimmer a week and multiple things. Get line spit on it. We are good buddy Mr. Vegas, aka Moon Wizard, sets us the lines, and we go through. We might talk some trash. We might do some, you know, hedging our bets in case of Chad, you know. And
Coward.
one of the things he
Yep.
hedged was not getting Vex Mythoclass to drop before Grandmasters, and he got that bad boy
So
to drop this last week.
you also got to mention, if at any point any of us run out of money, aka Glimmer, then we have to offer up a god roll to the
Mm-hmm.
podcast, and they determine what the Glimmer value of that is to quote unquote buy back in.
Yes.
So it's very important to not run out of Glimmer. We're not quite where we want to be on this segment at the moment. We're going to be 100% honest. We're kind of workshopping it. That way, whenever the Witch Queen drops, we're really at the place we want to be with it. Um, so we're kind of at a trial and error phase. After last week, some bets kind of cashed in. So, like we said, Chad was able to, oh my God, it's over, acquire the Vex Mythoclast. That was his exact quote whenever he saw his exotic laying on the ground. I'm not gonna lie, part of me hoped to lose that bet and then him pick it up and it be a masterwork core. That was kind of one thing I was hoping as that occurred. And the other bet that hit was our bet last week was how many of us would go flawless last week. And I know I bet all three. Jared, I don't recall your bet. What was your bet?
I bet all 3 and 2.
Okay. So all of us hit that. So our current Glimmer standings, Jared has 14,800 Glimmer. Not Ryan Fox has 20,300 Glimmer. And Chato Cero has 22,400 Glimmer. So we are all way up this season. I think last week I was down at 2,000 Glimmer, and then I had 2 bets hit and kind of skyrocketed me up there. So we're all sitting pretty. We're trying to think of some things we could do that would be pretty cool as far as making one of our people maybe have to delete a god roll, like what amount of money we would have to sacrifice for that. Chad seems to be less in favor of that than everybody else for whatever reason. He claims
I
he
want to
doesn't get god
remind
rolls
I
like
want to
the rest of
remind all the
us.
listeners here. I never once agreed to anything when it came to this, so I'm still gonna stand by that
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, this is true. So Chad is just kind of playing along. He Jared and I are kind of just making Chad do this. So that is 100% 100% right. So my dream is that at the end of this I'm going to make a giant like YouTube video, like cuts of all our gambling corner stuff into like one giant like 20-30 minute video that could be interesting. So we'll see how that plays out. But Jared, go ahead and tell us what Mr. Vegas set as the line this week.
So in general, probably at kind of a low point in the season where a week before Grandmasters start and the story is progressing just a little bit, not a lot's going on. We have no really big in-game PvE activities to do. So we're just doubling down again on trials. And the line is, will there be more people go flawless in week 3 than they did in week 2? And it's minus 200 for less and plus 150 for more. So, in general, and many trends over the past seasons, it always goes down week by week. But what are the things that's changing this week? We already said increased rank up rewards and a new play style. And who knows what the adept weapon is. So all those 3 factors really can fluctuate the amount of people that's inside of a trials playlist. So initial thoughts, Fox, how you feeling? You think it's going to continue trend down, or we moving up?
Well, I wish we would have done a bet on what we think the weapon would be because that would have been pretty interesting.
Well, We can side bet that.
Okay. So, things that we know are in play this season, and this is based upon what you can focus your trials engrams into. We know that we have the Messenger, and we know we have Igneous Hammer. We know we have Eye of Soul. We know that we have Shayura's Wrath, and we know that we have Reed's Regret. Is there one that I'm missing?
The sword.
Sola's Scar is the name of the sword, if I recall correctly. My guess is that the weapon is going to be the Messenger. I think it is one of the more popular weapons solely because you can get some pretty ball and rolls on it, like Rapid Hit Desperado. I know is a roll. I think there's an Outlaw Desperado. Don't quote me on that. I'm sorry. But if somebody wants to pull that up on Light GG while I'm talking, I'd appreciate it. So um, I'll do a side bet with anybody that wants for 5,000. I'm going to take the Messenger as the weapon that drops, and I will let you have your choice of any of the other weapons. So that'll be straight up, and I'll bet you both if you want 5,000 towards both of you if you both want to take that bet. If you're not too big of a coward, and I'm going to say that more people are going to go. I'm sorry, less people are going to go flawless than last week, but I will also take a $2,000 side bet that there will be more overall matches played than last week. If anybody wants to take me up on that. So my bet is to anybody that takes it. Messenger is going to be the weapon. That's going to be a 5,000 glimmer straight up bet. You can take any, but you have to choose a weapon. You don't get any of the other four. I'll take a $2,000 side bet that there will be more matches played than week 2, but less matches played than week 1. And I will also bet that there will be less flawless people overall.
All right, Chad, before I dive into that, any ones that you want to take him on the side bet or your bet overall? Because you got to bet at least 1,000. And I would almost say you have too much money, Chad. There's no way you're walking out of this podcast with only betting 1,000.
Yeah, yep. That's the
Says who? I can do what I want.
the other two people. The other two people on the podcast.
I don't care. I never agreed to this in the first place, so be quiet. Let's see. So as far as I don't want to agree with Ryan because I don't want us all to be on the same thing again, but I also don't think it's going to be more. Dang it.
All right. So I'll go more. I'll put 5,000 glimmer on there's going to be more players flawless.
All right. I was going to put 5,000 on less. So that makes that easier.
And with the side bets, Fox, I was feeling Messenger too as being one. So I'll veer off of that. Okay. So it's 5,000 on another weapon. And if it's on neither of these two weapons, it's nil.
Yeah, you had to choose the weapon. Like you can't take the field and me give that because that's way too much to give up.
All right. So I'll put match the 5,000. I'll go Igneous Hammer.
Okay.
Chad, do you feel good on one of the other weapons? You going for 5,000 on another weapon, thinking that's going to be the adept weapon to drop?
No,
you could also take
any side bets.
You could also take
no.
Oh man,
I'm good.
Come on.
No.
Chad, you have enough glimmer. You could take multiple weapons.
No, because you're too. I would have guessed Messenger. So I'm not doing anything. So
scared money don't make no money.
I hope that it's igneous.
That's right.
I'm not here to make money. I'm here to not have to dismantle anything.
Oh man. Yo yellow belly. So to recap here, I had 1,000 glimmer that there would be less flawless players than last week. I had 2,000 glimmer that there would be less matches than last week, but nobody is taking me up on that side bet. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm staying away from that.
Okay. Chad, you're staying away from that as well?
I'm not touching it.
Okay. And last but I'm going to delete that out of here of our log. So I have 1K, I have 1,000 that there would be less flawless matches than last week, and I have 5,000 glimmer that the adept weapon would be messenger. And that is a straight up bet with Jared, who bet that there would be 5,000 on igneous hammer, and he also bet 5,000 glimmer that there would be more players than last week. So that's going to play out. That's going to pay out at like a 7,500 clip there. So that'll be nice. And Chad bet that the 5,000 there would be less. So that's going to, what's that going to pay out at? Would that be like 75?
Oh, he put.
Be
Oh,
like,
okay.
I might have say be like 8,000 that would pay out or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So we'll get all that worked out and we'll update it next week whenever this time comes. But just know that some of us are gamblers and some of us are cowards. So some of us probably use scout rifles in PvP.
All right. We got live and chat up in this section, man.
Yeah, I know.
We
I
got to do
know.
something.
I know we do. We got to light a fire under that ass or something. I don't know. I don't know exactly what we have to do.
All right, Chad. We had a little bye week last week with a new exotic that came out, and now we're going back tomorrow, right? Tell us about this lore that we got going on.
We are going back to the Maracena, leading into the Awoken of the Reef book. Like I said, it actually is multiple books leading into each other. And where we left off, Mara is giving her speech before everybody that wants to leave the distributary leaves. So everybody that's ready to board is already decided. Everybody that wants to stay is going to stay. So she's giving a speech about the world. So she says, "No infants died last year. No child went unfed. No youth came of age illiterate. No one suffered illness who might have been treated. We have long surpassed the UTEC gathered from the ship's spire. Yet we have grown carefully and cleanly. We have eluded pollution, eradicated plague, and chosen peace. No Maltech weapon has been discharged in centuries. Our atomic weapons have been dismantled before they could ever be used. We are our own triumph." And she has elected not to use graphics or theater. She would rather they remember her face. "You know yourselves," she says. "Let me tell you of your cosmos. We live in a spatially infinite, isotropic universe 12.1 billion years old. It is metallicity is ideal for life and for spread of technological civilizations. In time, the distance between all points in the universe will contract to zero, and the cosmos will collapse into a singularity to be reborn in fire. There will be no end to eternity here." She pauses, she waits, the whole world is out there begging for the answer to the question. Our world is a gift, and we must refuse it. They are awoken. They love secrets. They will wait for her to explain. We have detected a pattern that was imprinted into our universe by its ancestor, a fingerprint of the initial conditions into which existence was born. From this information, we have confirmed the most primordial of awoken myths. Our universe is a subset of another. We live within a singularity, a knot in space-time that orbits a star in another world. Conventional relativity would suggest that time outside an event horizon passes quickly compared to a clock within, but our universe has a peculiar relationship with its mother. Thousands of years have passed for us in the distributary. Outside, centuries at most. We are a swift eddy in a slow river. These ideas might not surprise you after centuries of theorizing and philosophy. We have decrypted new data from the cosmic microwave and neutrino background signals. We have discovered voices. The voices of distress calls. They tell a story of bravery, of war, and of desperate loss. We are not always immortal. We did not earn this utopia by covenant with any cosmic power or by attaining an enlightened moral condition. We are refugees. We fled an apocalyptic clash between our ancestors, civilization, and an invading power. The signals we have retrieved tell us that our ancestors were on the edge of defeat, perhaps extinction. It is time that we accept our debt. The distributary is a refuge, not a birthright, a base to rebuild our strength, not a garden to tend. I ask you, Awoken, to join me in the hardest and most worthy task a people has ever faced. We must leave our heaven, return to the world of our ancestors, and take up the works they abandoned. If some of them survive, we must offer aid, and if they have enemies, we must share our strength. We must go back to the war we fled and face our enemies there. She lets them dangle a moment before she drives it home. We have also determined that our birthright, our immortality, is tied to the fundamental traits of this universe. Once we leave, we will begin to age again. In time, we will all die. Will you join me, Awoken? Will you answer my call? All I offer you is hardship and death. All I ask is everything you can offer. But you will see an old starlight. You will walk into a deeper dark than this world has ever known. Now, after her speech, she decides to go meet with Queen Alice Lee, who was, as we remember, the first queen of the Awoken within the distributary. Now, there, she tells Mara that the newest queen, or she tells Alice that the newest queen doesn't endorse Mara's plans to take a bunch of the Awoken out of the distributary. And to this, Alice responds, "You mean she's declined to endorse the sudden violent severance of tens of thousands of threads from the tapestry of our society? How surprising. The scribe once told me that the definition of utopia is a place where every single person's happiness is necessary to everyone else. You're going to make a lot of people unhappy, Mara. You'll make the lives of everyone in the world tangibly worse. Not just those you lured to certain death, but those who will grieve their departure, and all those who will come to grief for lack of labor and knowledge you took with you. Your mother told you that this is one thing for you to have particular power over people, but another thing entirely to not deny that you are using it." Mara counters with, "You once told me that I had to consider the symbol people made out of me, and that if we were good, then I had to be that symbol for them. I had to perform as they required. I have done so. I have been the best thing I can think to be." Alice says, "Is this the best thing you could think to be?" "Mara, I'm at least as clever as you. Do give me the credit of acknowledging it." "I've worked for many hundreds of years to arrange this outcome," Mara says, but without courage to look Alice right in the eyes. "I have nurtured and tended the Kaliist belief so that there was always Awoken who feel uncomfortable in paradise, guilty for the gift of existence in the distributary, people who will come with me." "I know," Alice lays a hand on Mara's, and for a moment the touch almost makes Mara sigh in gratitude, to be seen, to be known without revulsion. Then Alice's old strength pins her palm to the table. "The diacerm," Alice hisses. "The Theodicy War, did you arrange it all?" "No," Mara says. "Do you understand what you've done? Some infinities are larger than others," she tells her old captain. "I believe we are here for a reason, and this is a way to fulfill that purpose." "And how much would you sacrifice? Your mother? Your brother? Are the Awoken real to you at all? Do you think my people were made to die for you?" "Not for me, for our purpose, for our fate. For a home we abandoned, it's in the charter, Mara, the document on Shipspire that shaped the way I made this universe." "You were the first," Mara acknowledges. "The first one here laid down the rules." And Al says, "Why are you here, Mara?" She says, "To ask you a boon that you owe me." "At last. Well, I knew the day would come. I think I'll be glad to have this weight off my shoulders. You'll ask me to throw my support behind your mission, won't you?" the First Queen says. "Is that it?" "No," Mara says. "The boon I ask you is your forgiveness." Then she explains the truth. She tells Alice Lee what she did, about the choice Alice Lee would have made if Mara had not made it herself. It's only an extension of what Alice already deduced. When she's finished, her ancient captain's jaw trembles, her hands shake, a keen slips between her clamped teeth. The oldest woman in the world conjures up all the grief she has ever felt, and still it is not enough to match Mara's crime. "You are the devil," Alice Lee whispers. "I remember in one of the old tongues, Mara means death." "Oh, that's too perfect. That's too much." She laughs for a while, and Mara closes her eyes and waits. "You realize that this is the worst thing ever done. Worse than stealing a few thousand people from heaven. Worse than the thing we fled before we were awoken." "Please don't say that." Alice rises from her chair. I'll support your fleet. I'll use every favor and connection I have to get your hulls completed and through the gateway. And I will do it so that I can hasten your departure from this world. I will do it out of hate for you. I will do it so that every good and great thing we achieve here will ever after be denied to you, you snake. No forgiveness. Do you understand me? It is unforgivable. Go. And Mara says, I'd be very glad if you didn't tell my mother. And Alice hurls a pitcher of tea all over Mara and runs back inside the house. Now, while they sit in space, waiting to departure through the wormhole back into our universe, she thinks about her mother. She remembers her last thing that they talked about, and her mother, Osana, says, I'm not coming with you. And Mara was so afraid of that answer for so long. She says, sure, you've got a ranch to run after all. And Osana looks at her and says, you'll have to send my goodbyes to Uldren. He's not speaking to me. And she says, why? Because I already told him I wasn't coming with you. I'm happy here. Mom, I'm happy here too, but that's not the point. In a conversation that did not so much as end as a beat itself in unsustainable emotional pulp, hours later, no catharsis, no closure. Back into the present, on the ship again. Uldren says, weapons, go flight. Go flight. And they start clocking in all the things that they need to do to make sure that they can leave. And all of a sudden, Mars shouts, intercept, they're missiles. So they're getting targeted by missiles aboard the ships of all the people that are leaving. And then one of the persons says, do we abort? Negative. The countdown is now. Go. She hits a switch and automatically hits the ignition on all the ships without hitting a countdown. She tells Uldren to reassign all the guns to protect the gateway. Regardless of the losses that are about to happen, they need to make it through no matter what. The hole screamed to thrust. Mara's suit floods with cushioning gel. She thinks of her mother's face, trying to fix it perfectly in her mind, and her sensorium tries, vainly, to open a channel to Osana. As the hull plunges into the singularity, the last thing Mara sees is the mournful error message, no connection. Cannot connect to Osana. There is a war, and its name is existence. There are two ways to fight. One is the sword, and one is the bomb. By the sword, I mean the way to fight that is tempered and solid. The way that is made from old things and the triumphs of the reduction to simplicity. The way is known to those who study the cosmos. Take any part of it at any time and you'll see an edge and say that is a weapon. By the bomb, I mean the way of being that is complex and schematic, and that must attain a criticality to attack. The way that is made from new things, and that triumphs by the arrangement of intricacy. This way is known to those who study themselves. Take any component of the bomb in isolation, you will say, what is this? I cannot understand its purpose, yet in its possibility of a fire. We are risen from man and fallen from heaven. We are made again in the fall, and that was once us will never again be us. I am uncrowned Everqueen, and my only diadem will be the event horizon of the universe, which is my dominion. By falling, I will rise. Now they end up in the reef area, and they start colonizing some of the reef. They're trying to connect things and put things together in order to make something that they can terraform. Obviously, they have technologies that we didn't. Even in the Golden Age, they have amazing technologies to help make that possible. And so, while they're working in the asteroid belt, the scribes are joining Mara on the journey, and Uldren's surveying the rest of the reef in his spacecraft to just scouting here and there. Now, Kelda Wadj, the All Teacher, and is one of Mara's most joyful recruits, was one of the most brilliant people in the distributary, and she goes to Mara and says, the Jennison Labs has learned something new, something wonderful. We're all a bit magic now. Mara says, tell me more. What does magic mean? Kelda says, some sort of weak acausality. They've been firing encoded neutrino beams through volunteers, and it looks as if resulting patterns scatter depending on the emotional state of the target. So they're finding out that the Awoken, since having come back, have an ability of acausality, which they didn't have in the distributary. They were simply scientific beings that lived forever. But once they're back into our universe, they have connected to the light and dark again, and now have magic, as they'll call it. So she says, is this not accounted for by physics? And not by any physics we know. At face, it seems to violate some conservation laws, which would make Emmy Nother's head spin. But she says, the question is, Your Majesty. Mara says, don't call me that. We're operating on a direct democracy here. Kelda says, the question is, do we continue to think of it as science? Do we teach it as physics? Causal closure says that everything that happens in a material system has a material cause. However, its symbolic structures in mind are triggering material effect. And what should we call this? Death had no dominion, Mara whispers. Pardon? She says, we're in death's dominion now. We're all dying again. We are immortal. We were immortal in the distributary, weren't we? Some part of us attuned to the universe, and now we are no longer receiving the distributary signal. We are attuned to something new. So that was Mara understanding what's going on, while her scribes and scholars were still trying to figure it out. Now, Mara tells the Awoken that they finally found humanity, found them where they are on the settlement in the last city, and everyone's excited. They're finally going to be able to revisit their ancestors and go to man with all their new technologies and help them survive. And Aldrin cuts in by saying we've actually found some hostile aliens as well. It's not just humanity that's in our system anymore. And Mara says it's worse. They're all over the solar system. We've detected flotillas of their interstellar ships around Jupiter and Venus. They don't go near Mars, but only because it's under occupation of another alien species. Mercury as well. She shows them the Vex, who actually had their species listed on the Ship Spires Index. Asilla, a famed historian, puts voice in the crowd, says, so they need our help, don't they? We have to go to them. Our ships, our technology, we can make all the difference. No, Mara says. We need more information. Our focus must remain on securing this reef, bootstrapping industry and a population, and scouting out the solar system. Mara, with all my respect, all my genuine gratitude for bringing us here, but who died and made you queen? Mara says nothing, but she thinks. Everyone. Asilla. All of us died and made me queen. So Aldrin comes back, and he's actually on the verge of death, but him and Siur and Mara are treating him and fighting, and she keeps fighting that she is the queen. Siur says, look, I'm the queen's bodyguard. She says, I'm not the queen. And Siur just looks at her and says, well, maybe that's your problem. Now, there's a point of mutiny between the Awoken, another division, and Mara's pinned down, and Siur's asking, what do we do? They're going to escape with some of the ships, and Mara says, let them go. No sense in holding them back. Our position's compromised. Broadcast to everyone, I'm going to allow anyone who wants to leave the reef to go. This is their one and only chance. And Siur says, they know, Your Majesty. They already know. What do you mean? You told us. We heard your voice. Mara, I heard you. You spoke to me. So she's able to transmit thoughts now. So Siur is reporting back to Mara, stating that they're already making a difference. The Awoken that traveled to Earth, they've saved lives with the provisions of medicine, pure water, and construction supplies. And they are changing humanity and making it thrive again in some way. And Mara says, I know. Let the people remember them as saints and paladins, and tell no one how many more they might have saved if they had only kept faith. Awoken, for the first time in my life, I hesitated to reach for power, and now 1 and 3 of you are gone. I cannot deny that the cosmos has made me stronger. I am your one and rightful queen. My tech units, she said, gathering Kelda, will be given absolute authority to explore our new power, the Traveler's Relics, and all associated domains. We are no longer in the realm of pure science. We require, in order, of mysteries and witches to tend them. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about next week is going to be finishing that up. And it's the last parts of the book is talking about the clash with Oryx. And it gives a lot of insight into what happened there. So if a lot of you D1 players are around and haven't read these books, it gives you more thoughts in her plan as to what happened exactly. So I know Ryan in particular doesn't know. He just thought she died. So it's gonna be very interesting hearing what actually happened, because everything she does, like I've said before, is planned 100%. and this is going to give you her inner workings of what happened during that war and after it. Um, but that should be the end of the book, and then we'll hopefully find get into some more real deep stuff.
Listen, Chad makes fun of me because I thought that Morozov died in the Taken King. And I get on Twitter, and every day I see people saying, "Hey, what happened when she died in the Taken King?" So, I don't even feel a little bit bad about that. So,
You
but I
shouldn't.
am looking forward to finding out the truth. So,
I mean, what do you think when Forsaken was going on?
I don't know. I just thought maybe
That was years later, though. To be
she's just
100% fair,
just like
yeah.
sprinkled back to life or something. I don't know, man. I'm just here to shoot shit, bro. Come on, man. I, before before we hit the mailbag section, I do want to get in and let's talk a little bit about what we did this last week, this current week of Destiny so far. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Obviously, I'm sure that we all did the story mission, which included the astral alignment, the shattered realm. I'm assuming that we all did all the secret stuff in the shattered realm, which was took about an hour or an hour and a half following a guide, and it made you want to cut your heart out the entire time you were doing it. I personally, the Ager's Scepter went live. The catalyst for it went live this week. I have now ran 11 astral alignments without getting that damn thing to drop. So I'm pretty salty about it because I really want it before these GMs start because I think it's going to be pretty nice whenever it comes with the. I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to freeze entire rooms. I didn't know that this is coming out on a Thursday, so if you hear this late Thursday night, early Friday morning before a reset, a lot of like 2 new mods dropped from the Wayfinder's Compass. So make sure you grab those. And we did run a Last Wish. We ran 2 Vault of Glass. Um, that's when Chad got his Vex Mythoclast was on his second run. I was getting nervous. We only had 4 left after that one for him to get it to make the bet pay off. And we did run a Last Wish last night. We're going for that title. And we did take a guy through that had never been through. And I think we did it in, under an hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes at the most. Everything went pretty smooth. Um, it's pretty easy to kill Riven with the cheese, with the fusion rifles, like 1K and all that. So I think we're going to be able to get a Petra's run in pretty easy because everything went really smooth. It killed every boss very easily. So just assuming nothing stupid happens, I think we could get a Petra's run in. Um, we were pretty close to having a flawless vault this week. One person died in the jumping puzzle. I'll let you guys figure out who did that. And their excuse as to what happened was somebody was underneath me and I landed on their head.
That
I
wasn't the
believe
first
is
excuse that happened.
what was
Somebody
the
yelled
first
out.
excuse, Jared?
Somebody yelled out, "I got pushed." As
It's
I
the same
see this
thing.
hunter,
But I want to say this that right after that, someone else died in the jump puzzle also. So it was like literally
It
within
doesn't.
spawning time, it happened. So
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters at that point because everybody knew the run was over at then.
dude, it was at the end of the
So
yeah, whatever. No,
so the story dialogue this week, Queen Savvy called us out on some stuff. It's like, look down at your hands and what are you going to do with that gun, right? And it maybe come to mind is that we're going to get that glaive in Witch
mm-hmm.
Queen. Is that, I know that she's just probably just putting us down, but like, is that kind of the reason we make the glaive and use it because our guns just like will have no won't be powerful
It's
enough to
yeah,
do what they need to do.
it's probably going to be a story device where we have to make the glaive in order to beat a boss of some kind because we won't be able to do it with our guns. Um, and then once we get power back over them, then we'll shoot them again in the face like normal.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that whenever it happened. Um, gonna be honest with you guys, I was kind of trying to get through all of it, so I think I probably skipped some of the dialogue and from the story mission this week. I was more interested in. So I have my warlock and my titan are at pinnacle cap. My hunter is a cloak away from being a pinnacle cap, and I'm plus 16 on my artifact, which happened around 125, like Chad mentioned earlier in the season. So that's kind of your target if you're looking to be GM ready. You have one more week to do this. So I'm ready to roll, ready to get into these GMs. I think we could pretty easily get 2 a night in. You know, keep in mind we usually don't even start playing until like 9 o'clock. Usually that's me because that's when my children are soundly asleep. So if I'm trying to record something, you know, and I don't want a 4-year old or a 2-year old coming in here, it does better just to wait for them to be asleep. So that's kind of some idea of what's going to be coming soon. We kind of have these GMs, our walkthroughs, our runs posted. They're usually us talking at the beginning about our loadout, and then we just kind of go into the nightfall. We don't do a whole lot of editing on those. Actually, I'll be honest with you, we don't do any editing of those whatsoever. So what you see is what you get. So this is going to be, so far, this will be the hardest season to get Conqueror in, just because the strikes that we have to knock out. However, it'll still be overall easier than the very first season, in my opinion, because GMs are simpler now than they were then. So that's kind of up for debate. I think I don't think there's ever been anything official said about that. That's just my personal opinion.
I don't think they're ever going to come out and say it, but it's the absolute truth. They made them too hard. Well, I mean, they made them very, very difficult, and majority of the player base was not about it. All right, time for the mailbag. Which destination in Destiny would you want to live in for 1 month? Um, I think the Dreaming City is the coolest place. But I think I would die because I'm not trusting. That's where Sabathun is right now. Not really trust Amara. So I'm gonna go to the Deep Stone Crypt and just explore, see what I can find. I like the cold.
Dang, man, I was gonna say the Deep Stone Crypt. I guess, I mean, I could take the other science building on the other side, Creation, where the big head is, and just meander about. Like, I'll steal one of those little cargo ships that you see floating about in there, and just fly around and see what I can find in there. Um, but I mean, if we're counting the whole destination as a place you can't go because someone else went there and he's picking Europa, and we're talking about all locations ever, right? D1, D2, right, Ryan? I'm assuming.
That's kind of the way I understood
Okay.
I understood it to be current destinations,
Mhm.
kind of just based upon how I read.
Okay. Then if it's current, shoot, I think oof, the EDZ. That way I can punch Shahan in the face. I'll just be underneath where
That's a
that sleeping bag
Cosmodrome, I
is.
believe.
The Cosmodrome, yeah. So I can punch him in the face.
I believe that's a Cosmodrome.
Yeah, that's the
Started to say,
place.
don't you come in here with your Devrim case lander.
No, no,
So
Devrim. I'll have some tea
this
with
is an easy
Devrim.
question. Yeah, yeah. Just like do like pinky promises with your tea. So this is an easy answer. I'm going to the lighthouse. I'm hanging out with my homie Saint. I assume that the tower was off limits on this. Go to the lighthouse. You got some nice. You're going to be on Mercury. It's going to be pretty much like the beachiest place you can be. It's going to be nice and warm there. You're going to have a sweet chest, all sorts of little secrets kind of tucked away in there. So I want to choose the lighthouse as a bit of a cop out answer. If I'm not allowed to choose the lighthouse, I would choose the EDZ to hang out with Devram. Next question. What is the one death in Destiny that frustrates you the most? This could be from a weapon, ability, or etc. I assume etc. would be like a boss stomp or something like that, or maybe
Now,
like a team wipe because somebody dropped the relic and didn't pick it up. Maybe would probably fall under that category as well. So I don't
uh,
know. Go ahead, Chad.
now, see, here's where I read things very differently than you guys. So when I read the one death, I don't think of like the death that happened to me or the squad. I think the death of the thing. So like the death of the weapon, the ability, or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'm nowhere near where this question was going. But yes, any death during an actual legit flawless attempt, like trying to grab onto a chain so we can skip an encounter, is the worst. It's the worst. There's nothing like sitting there waiting for someone to grab onto a chain for hours.
Okay. Hmm. The something that frustrates me a lot as something that die to is a boss stomp from a Hydra because that makes no freaking sense.
Oh man, I agree with you so much. Is that your final answer?
Yeah, that's my final answer.
All right, so I kind of had a couple. I had a couple jump straight to my head. Number one is the shitter dive that hunters can do, because I think it's broken and busted. Number two is a fell winner's lie. That gun frustrates me so much to get killed by. Um, Boss Stomp came up there right away, and also the knee of justice from Titans was another one that frustrated me a whole lot. But I think at the end I have to agree, that the boss stomp mechanic in general just absolutely frustrates me, especially whenever that boss stomp turns into you getting like slammed into a column or a pillar and then you die because your momentum and your speed is so fast. So that would be my answer as well, just to kind of piggyback off of Jared.
All right. Question 3: do players who play more often get worse drops? Chad, how do you feel about this?
I think as the one with the most logged time, yeah, I believe it. I believe it 100%. But we have instances, but obviously this is only like one data point where like somebody doesn't play for a long time, and then they come back to play a raid, and then they don't get the exotic for almost 80 runs, you know, and it's one of those weird ones. But definitely they reward the new coming players or the players that haven't played in a couple of seasons typically much more so than the people that are in it to win it every week, playing the game. They just kind of, yeah, that's the way it feels personally, anyway.
Yeah, I think there's something in the background to where like new players or like people that bought previous season passes and haven't bought the most recent one yet, they favor them, they keep them in the game and give them some extra little drops here and there to say, oh, look at this weapon that I just got. And they go post it on some message board and say, I just came back to this game and look at this weapon I just got. And everybody's like, yeah, it's a 7 out of 5 God roll. Good for you. And then like that makes them want to stay in the game. So I think, yeah, absolutely.
So you guys sound like a bunch of conspiracy theorists. I know that Bungie hires like I remember seeing many years ago that they hired like some psychiatrist or psychologist. I know there's a giant difference between those two, in order to make game loops that kept people engaged in the game to increase playtime. I think I hate to I hate to give this guy credit. Uh, in case it's not him, but I believe it was like Jason Schreier in his book Blood, Sweat, and Pixels that kind of talked about that as something they had done in the background. in order to maintain player engagement. So if they're already doing that, then there has to be probably something that does it, because between, like, we've been in roughly what, 50 combined Vault of Glass runs that all three of us have been in. And it seems like anytime, usually 4 or 5 of the 6 of us stay the same, and there's always like 1 or 2 people that are rotating. Those 1 or 2 rotators that have either never done it or done it once or twice seem to get these raid exotics way more than the rest of us. So I believe there's something to it. It makes me sound like the Alex Jones of Destiny, to say that out loud. But I kind of agree with you guys on that. That it does seem like there is something hidden in the algorithm that these players that play the least get the better drops. You can even look at our boy Laser 712 whenever we did our charity stream, that he got the 1K on his, like, oh, I haven't played this game in 2 years, so let me jump in on this stream that you guys are doing for charity. And then he, of course, he gets the 1K at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just happened to us a couple weeks ago. Somebody's first time or second time through VOG, and there's like, I don't really know the mechanics, and they got Vex Meta class to drop. So
We've had a lot
yeah,
of people that are either getting back into the game or just starting the game that get it on their first or second run. We've had at least 3 of those for this particular raid. Me, like, personally. So it feels great. Feels good.
all right. Question 4. First time caller, long time listener. Hoorah! Since you'd never been to the lighthouse before, except for the last 2 weeks, they seen the screen grab on Twitter. What is the one thing you consistently changed about your playstyle?
I'll take this one first, because I was a person that played Halo very competitively, and then any game other than Halo, I've given a lot less care about. However, with Destiny and Trials, some of the things that I've tried to implement are just maintaining patience, especially in Trials. So if we are in the better area for the zone control towards the end, we won't push. Another thing we do is, if we catch somebody trying to flank us, so like we're all three in an area and somebody's trying to flank us, at least 2, if not 3 of us will all collapse on that one person to try to take them out to give us numbers. And the other thing is, I actually pay 100% attention to what is going on in the game of Crucible. What I notice is anything that's not trials or competitive, I'm only giving like 60 to 70% of my attention. So trying to maintain 100% focus will make you a lot better player. Who would have ever thought? Last but not least, the 40-60 rule. If you've never heard of this, you kind of want 40% of your screen to always be in cover, and 60% of the screen to be like the people that you're fighting against. So that way you're always, and that will help you maintain positioning. I started using that in Gears of War 1, like what, 15, it came out in 2006. So that's been 15 years ago. That was something that I started using then. And it's a very popular thing. It's not something I made up. Like, it's not, no credit to me whatsoever. But 40% of your screen, you're in cover to where you can't be shot. 60% is the person you're trying to kill. So using those things are kind of what's made me a much better player for Trials.
Um,
I think
Go ahead, Chad.
for me, it's, again, like Brian said, it's paying attention for me personally, and the patience. Um, I'm big into pushing in Crucible because it's no fun sitting around, and I have more fun running around the corner and vooping people out of existence or getting vooped and just messing around. I don't have a great KD in Crucible, not because I'm bad, but because I just like to mess around. I'll be like, what does this gun feel like, or what are these like? What's this grenade like, and is this any good? And I do that constantly. I never have ever played Crucible and been like, I'm gonna sit here and win constantly. And Trials, I try to do that, but before the changes, I'm just after game two, I'm already at the point where I'm like, I'm not gonna win. I I don't care. I'm not at a point where I'm happy, so I don't want to be here. But these last weeks, I've put the A game on, paid attention, be more patient, don't push, pay attention to your teammates' positioning, hear the calls, make better calls because my calls are nonsense in regular Crucible. These two guys can attest. Um, and like lots of over theirs happening in regular Crucible, but in Trials, I'm much more succinct into repeating the way they call it, so that we get more on the same level there, and playing the meta because I like to mess around with guns, but I rocked Messenger last weekend. I'm using those pulse rifles because that's what's going on right now. I'm still using my fusion because people still don't know how to play against it very well. But I'm maining the pulse rifle at the moment because it's good. So normally I wouldn't do that. Normally I just mess around. So those are what I've been doing.
So what what I decided to do probably like a season and a half ago is really start paying attention to PvP streamers and like if they do like if they do a podcast. So I listen to Firing Range and then listen to Massive Breakdown by Mercules and Kit. So what they dive into what counters what, and they compared it to building like a Yu-Gi-Oh deck. I never played Yu-Gi-Oh, but it just made sense to me. It's like what counters what. So the latest map that we had was this the big wide open map with like a small dark hallway that could be close quarters. So to me, that's sniper SMG. But whatever that's not working, right? Say they got pulse rifles and they're shooting you from far with stag, peek shooting, and you're missing your shots with sniper. Switch to DMT. DMT can do two head, one body from 50 meters out if you aim down sights. If everybody does stag rifts with Arc Buddy, you have Whisk Runner to switch your SMG to. If you have shotgun wrestlers are W key warriors, and guess what happens when you're a W key warrior? You get Shadow Dove. So you have a counter to every play, but sometimes it boils down to did you get your sniper or not? And unfortunately, that takes some practice and using the same sniper over and over and using the same zoom sniper. So that's what I started doing. I'm like always using a 50 zoom sniper now, frozen orbit. So all I use it in sixes, I use it in threes, get more consistent, and you hit more shots. Just my practice.
Yeah, man, Jared, Jared and Jed, you both made really good points that we actually talk about callouts more. So on the last map, the callouts that we used were good for us, but probably weren't good for everybody else. So we used like whole left, whole right, like if they're in that little hallway there close to the capture zone, and we used like bridge. Those are callouts and we use circle. Most people use like rotunda and dark hall and those type of things, which are the actual correct names of the maps. But you know as long as we know what we're talking about, it doesn't matter about everybody else, let's be honest. So those call outs and blocking out distractions, not looking at your cell phone every time you die, and those type of things, they make a huge difference. And I've really enjoyed Trials the last 2 weeks. I've always enjoyed the game mode. The game mode has been incredible since the House of Wolves, whenever Trials first started. So there's something to it, and and now that they've got the loot and the investment time and all that stuff figured out, like man, it is a lot of fun to get in there. So as it refines, it's going to be even more fun to get in there. I feel.
And this another thing that came to mind recently is that I wasn't afraid to go double primary. I went DMT sure as wrath because because of the way the ammo economy is right now, especially if the other teams running shotguns, nobody's sniping you, so you definitely have time to shoot with DMT from a distance, and then shotgun rushlers rushing you, switch to that SMG, and SMGs are pretty forgiving up close, and if you're backpedaling and you're in the air, you're out of range of those shotguns now, and it's a really good counter.
And off of that, Jared, I remember you made. We had one game. Our danger game was our game 6 that we went, and we were getting absolutely smashed. We were down 4-1. They had all 3 supers. I think we had 1 super as a team. I had my bottom tree arc super, and was just able to. I was able to. We were down to 1v3. I killed. They used 2 supers. I killed both of them and like completely turned the match around from there. And then we were able to change supers, get it tied up, and then get the win. If you guys recall, in that match, we were able, whenever that fella popped golden gun, we were able to rotate around the map and never even saw the guy with golden gun. So paying attention to not only the radar in case there's one person trying to kind of flank around on you and then you can collapse on that person, but also paying attention to who has super, what supers they have, those type of things. You know, you got to give like 10% more brain effort, but it can give you like 40% better results, in my opinion.
All right, so hopefully we helped you out a little bit. But by no means we're PvP gods. We are fighting tooth and nail to improve ourselves by maybe a 0.5% to get ourselves to the lighthouse. It's not we're not getting there effortlessly.
No, no, no. We're just trying to get there, baby. It don't matter how long it takes us to get there. We're just trying to get there.
Yep. All right. So besides trials going on this weekend, there's a little Halo Infinite beta going out, and are you all diving into there this weekend?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. After we hit up the lighthouse again, we're I know I'm gonna be in there, and I think Ryan's gonna be in there with me. Um, but I'm excited. I didn't get to play it last time, so I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So my hope is I cranked everything out early this week, and my wife and kids were gone at Great Wolf Lodge, which is like an indoor water park. So I had an entire evening to myself that I used to do all the seasonal activities and run the raids and do all these type of things. And now my hope is that we're able to get to the lighthouse on Friday evening, and then I had the rest of the weekend to play Halo with everybody. I was fortunate to be in the flight last time with Halo, which was it's kind of weird because you matchmaked with 3 other people to make a team of 4, and then you played bots. So I'm kind of interested to see how it plays out this weekend. And from what I can tell, if I recall correctly, upon reading the initial email, is that from like 5 to 8 Eastern Standard Time, the flight's not going to be available to play. That's kind of the downtime from it. So as long as my Kentucky Wildcats aren't playing, I kind of plan to be on there as much as possible this weekend playing the Halo. As long as we're flawless, that takes main priority. Destiny takes main priority to me, though.
Um, I got the email. Haven't signed up. Did all the. I might try to get in there. It's not a high priority for me right now. I probably prefer to just watch some streams and watch some people doing it. Um, I'm not super excited for Halo when they've since they announced the co-op campaign was delayed. So that's the part of the game that I was really looking forward to. Right now, Destiny is fulfilling my PvP itch. So like what I thought was a reason for me to really dive into Halo is not something that I need to get from them at the moment. But free to play multiplayer, so I definitely will get into it at launch. But I might just pick up somebody's stream and and watch some other people get into it.
Chad, what about you?
Oh, I spoke first, my man. I'm saying I'm in there, dog. I'm in
Coming
there
in.
like swimwear, man.
So the thing that I agree 100% with Jared as far as the no co-op campaign. I refuse to absolutely refuse to play the campaign until the co-op of that is available. That way I can play with you guys. I have no interest in doing like a solo campaign until I do the co-op with you guys prior to that. If you guys hop in there and do it, solo prior to me coming in, that's your prerogative, I suppose. But I'm kind of holding out on that to play with my boys.
Yeah, so that's kind of the way I feel about it. I think, I mean, it is coming out at a decent time. It would depends on how Destiny's going. If we haven't got into any other games, we there's always a chance that during Destiny downtime we all pick up like a $5 game on Steam and we all get into it for a few weeks.
I
It could easily happen, but Halo's not really exciting me at the moment.
Yeah, I don't trust 343, but I mean right now currently I have Horizon Zero Dawn that's already purchased with like 2 minutes of playtime. I have oh, what's the Hideo Kojima game where you're like the delivery guy? Come on,
Oh,
Chad.
it's right there in my brain. I just don't remember.
Yeah, you play as Norman Reedus and whatever the name of that game is, I have it already purchased as well. So I have like, $50 or $60 worth of games purchased, just kind of sitting there to play both of those PlayStation exclusives that everybody thinks are so incredible. I've got these Final Fantasy games coming out on Steam, kind of ready to play. So I have a lot of stuff to tie me over. Those are kind of the games that are next for me, more so than Halo. I'm sure Halo will be, well, I'm sure the multiplayer of Halo will be enough to entertain for a couple weeks, but um, we do know that Halo 5 is coming to PC based upon the GeForce Now leak that kind of came out. So I'm kind of holding out on playing it. I don't even have an Xbox anymore. Um, so once that comes to PC, I'm sure I'll buy it for 30, 20, $30 and go through it and play it because I never even finished the campaign on that game. That's how bad it was. So that's saying a lot. So, but anyways, I am not Ryan Fox. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at Destiny CZ Pod. Subscribe on YouTube. Listen on Spotify and iTunes. Join the Discord. And I'm going to let these two fellas sign off here.
Guys, I've said it many times. Prophecy is my favorite dungeon, and the loot they put in there is amazing. I'm definitely, if I'm in Destiny right now, it's not a lot of in-game PvE stuff going on right now. I'm going to be grinding Prophecy Dungeon. I'm getting those hand cannons, getting the shotguns, wanting that sniper, and we got breakdowns for that coming next week.
I'm uh, I'm I'm gonna be there with him a little bit. I love Prophecy too, but I've gotten lost enough in the Shattered Realm, and I'm happy to go back into Prophecy.
All right. And so we will catch you next week. Next week should be interesting here with the Trials lab changes. We'll update on the gambling corner and all of that. So looking forward to next week. And hopefully we'll be back to back to back flawless Lighthouse players. Love you guys.